Hello to all of my cherry bombs. It is me, Cherry, and I'm back with another story. I've just been deciding that I'm just gonna film stories like 2 and 2. So when y'all be seeing these stories and it be 2 stories and I'll be in the same outfit, baby, that's just how I'm pushing out content. So that's just how we gonna get it. Anyway, I am back with another story time today. You guys have been asking about this one for a minute now, and I just never came around to tell it because I don't know. I guess I just didn't feel a sense of urgency to tell it, and it's just, at this point, it's just old. But I'm gonna tell you guys anyway. So if you're new to my channel, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Go ahead and give this video a thumbs up so that more people can find my content. Turn on your post notifications because I post very sporadically, and if you do not have them on, you will definitely for sure miss me. And what's the rest of my spiel? I'm tripping. Add all my social medias down below. They'll be in the description box for you guys. I'm pretty active on them. And let's get into this, y'all. So I told a story last year about meeting my Instagram crush. I had named him Queens, and in that story I had referenced another guy that I was involved with up here in New York, and I had named him Flatbush. Okay, so I never told the story about Flatbush in depth, so today that is what we're going to get into. Okay, so let's just, I'll make this short though. I don't want this to be a long story. It's gonna be really short. So anyway, so back on Instagram, I feel like Instagram used to be more like, back before all the like good looking or fine men of Instagram just thought so highly of themselves and had their heads so blown up that they just feel like they are so famous and so exclusive and so unaccessible. Like literally it's some head ass shit. Like the new Instagram, I feel like people have a very head ass mentality. They literally think they're famous, and it's so annoying now. But before that was a thing, I feel like Instagram was more like you could really meet like somebody in another state and have a conversation with them and actually hit it off. Like people used to just be so much more, I feel like, down to earth. So they entertained conversations because they weren't acting like, oh, I'm just this like famous ass nigga, like I don't follow bitches back, I don't entertain conversation, I don't do this, I don't do that. But then they're like, they just be doing weird shit. Like they'll like your pictures, but they just be on like weird shit. So anyway, so before Instagram niggas were super big headed, I had met this guy off Instagram, Flatbush of course, and he was fine, y'all, as hell. Like literally lips on 10, tatted, like literally covered in tattoos. Like there literally barely any space for shit else. Like just tattoos, thick, big as fuck. Like I think like literally like, I think from what I remember, I want to say Flatbush was like 6'3", 200 something pounds, damn near pushing 300, like, but like in like a fine, like I am made of muscle mass type way. Like this was a big lined backer ass nigga, like fine, dumb fine. Okay, so I see him on IG and I'm like, yo, at this time I was at A&T and he was going to school in Florida at Bethune-Cookman. So I see him, I could say that because it's been long enough, but I see him, I'm like, yo, he's mad fine. I can't remember how I even saw him. Maybe he was on my Explore page, something. I think that's what it was. I think he was on my Explore page. So at first I'm like, this is probably a catfish, because it just looked like one of those, like, he just literally, like, this type of fine just looked like one of those people that would not actually be like, that they would be real, but that mad people would be stealing their pictures and using their pictures. That's what he gave off. So I was just like, this is probably catfish, whatever. I liked a couple pictures or whatever, and so he started liking my pictures back. And again, this was back in the era where you could like pictures back and forth, and eventually the guy would slide. Like I just feel like Instagram back then, eventually they would hit your DMs and y'all would start conversating. I feel like now everybody thinks they're so famous and they're so exclusive because they have some Instagram, people know them on Instagram, that like it's like a whole bunch of like, I think I'm the prize ass niggas. Like they want women to slide first. They feel like they're too good to slide in your shit. They'll like pictures all day and will not slide in your shit. I feel like that's mad weirdo energy. But this was before then. So this was back when men used to actually slide in girls' DMs, like fine ones, and not just the gas station roach looking ones. So anyway, so that's how we started or whatever. We liking pictures back and forth, and it turned into a conversation, and I ended up, you know, figuring out what school he went to and stuff. Like, he told me. I was telling him where I went to school, whatever, and we just started chatting back and forth, getting to know each other. So I'm not really thinking anything of it, because I'm like, oh, you know, like, he looks really good, but he's in Florida. I'm in Greensboro, North Carolina at the time. So I'm just like, this isn't gonna go anywhere, you know? But it turned into us really talking heavily every single day. We would FaceTime all day, every day. In between each other's classes, we were on FaceTime. In between his football practices, we were on FaceTime. Just anytime, if I was about to go out, I would FaceTime him first. We would talk. We would be on the phone for a second or whatever. And then I would go out. I'd be texting him or whatever. Like, we were in communication all day, every day. So heavy. Like, the chemistry was just A1. It was just there, you know? So, we started off like that. And then fast forward a couple months, I couldn't even tell you what month we started communicating in, but fast forward a couple months, we've been talking for a minute, and fast forward a couple months, and he had invited me down to Florida for Thanksgiving with his, like, more so like with his Florida family, because he was from New York, but he wasn't going home for Thanksgiving. So he had like a you know, like a family down there too. Like, they weren't biological, but he had got really close to them. One of his best friends on the football team, it was his family, and so they basically like took him in type, you know. So he invites me down to Florida with them for the holidays, and I'm like, yeah. Like, by now we had, like, y'all, when I say we're talking heavy, like, we were talking heavy. So it wasn't weird for him to do that, you know. So he invites me down. Mind you, I'm a broke ass college student, y'all. When I say I was I would never tell him this to this day, but I was donating plasma to get money for, because we basically, the way that we did it was he paid for like me to go down there, or maybe he paid for me to come back. Basically, he paid for one way, I paid for the other way. Both of us, you know, broke college students, so it was cute that he even, you know, did that. So getting the money for the ticket wasn't the issue, but I was like, you know, when I get down there, I'm one to, like, I never like to assume that a man is gonna just pay for everything, so I like to have my own money. So especially when I'm going on any type of trip or anything, so I was like, fuck, like, the ticket is paid for, but now I need money for when I actually get down there, you know. So y'all, I was, again, I'm donating plasma. I've sold I think maybe 2 pairs of my Jordans. I was taking things to Play-Dohs. I was taking things to all types of, like, I was just selling mad shit, because I'm like, yo, like, I'm about to go down to Florida for like a couple days. I just wanted to make sure I had enough money to comfortably be in Florida and not be like, just in case, and not be looking stupid, you know. So yeah, I saved up my little bit of funds or whatever, and I went down there. Florida was dope. We hit it off. For the minute he picked me up from the train station, because I rode the train down there, because I love the train. I'm not really, I hate flying. And at the time, again, just broke ass college student shit, I'm just in my head, I'm like, or no, it wasn't even the train. Maybe I rode the, no, I did. I rode the train down there. I rode the bus back up to North Carolina. But in my head as a college student, I was just very used to taking the train. So, because I would take it back and forth from Greensboro to Durham, to back home and stuff. So I'm thinking, you know, the trains can be cheaper than a plane ticket. What I know now is, like, plane tickets, honestly, like, you can get plane tickets for the low. So if I would have known that, I would have just flown. But anyway, that's besides the point. But anyway, so I get down there, he picks me up from the train station, and we hit it off. We're talking, we're chatting, we're cracking jokes on each other, whatever. It's not like, it just wasn't weird. Like, it just felt like, it felt the same as when we would be on FaceTime and stuff. Like, it just, we vibed out, you know. So and then at the time, y'all, little fun fact or whatever, I literally was freaking out during the whole, before this trip, because I used to be very, I've never liked my eyebrows, but I was super insecure about my eyebrows back then. So, because they're just they're tiny. Y'all see me, if you follow my channel, you've seen me without makeup, you know what my eyebrows look like. But I used to be very, very like crazy insecure about it, so I would not go anywhere without my brows on. I would not let any guy see me without my brows on. I literally would figure out ways to, like, I would wake up before them. I would, like, this whole trip, like, I think I was down there 5 days, I would wake up before everybody in the house woke up, and I would go do my eyebrows. Like, I would go to sleep with my brows on. I would wash everything else off my face, keep my brows on, go to sleep in my brows, and then I would wake up in the morning, take off the ones from the day before, and do them over, and then proceed to go about the rest of the day. Like, just OD. Like, I was so obsessed. And I just remember telling my friends, like, my biggest thing throughout the whole trip was just, like, before I went, I was telling my friends, like, oh my god, like, how am I gonna hide my eyebrows from him for a whole 5 days? Like, how am I gonna make sure he doesn't see my eyebrows? Like, I was just young, dumb me. That was my biggest concern, you know. But anyway, so the trip was cool, whatever. I come back from Florida, and he got weird after that. He got weird after I came back from Florida, and that was the beginning of him being like, and I can't even, it wasn't like a, I know it probably sounds like that, but it wasn't like a, oh, like, I got what I wanted type weird. It was more of like a, around that time, he was, I think he graduated in December of that year, so I went down for Thanksgiving. He graduated in December, and then as soon as he graduated, the league started looking at him heavy. So he got invited to the combine for the NFL, and everything from the time they started really scouting on him was just, I need to go to the league, I need to go to the league, I need to go to the league. So everything was about football, football, football. Everything had been like, you know, he was always very invested in football, but when he got invited to the combine, everything was like super, super, super just straight football. Like, our relationship was just like back burner. Everything was football. Like, he just was so zoned in, and so for him to be that zoned in, I'm just thinking like just off of trigger mode. Like, I'm just like, oh, it must be another girl. He has another girl he's talking to. There's somebody else. Because he's telling me like it's football, but I'm just like, no, it's a bitch. He's like, it's football, and I'm like, no, it's a bitch. No, it's a bitch. You know, like, I'm just in that mode. And so what ended up happening was we were still talking and stuff, but it just was like, I don't know, it was just different. Like, after he started getting scouted, it was just hella different. He just seemed more distant. Like, everything was just, if it was not about football, he really didn't give a fuck. So Christmas comes around, or not even, it was after Christmas. So I used to always go up to New York. I used to come up here for New Year's, always. Like, I think for like 3 or 4 years in a row, I would always come up around New Year's. And so I come up, and I'm trying to see him, of course, because I have mad feelings for this nigga at this point. Like, we've been talking for hella long. Like, I done spent Thanksgiving with your, you know, extended family type thing. And it was just, I just really had deep feelings for him. I'm not gonna say I was in love, because I've been in love before. I know what that feels like. I loved him. I wasn't in love, but I definitely, for sure, I loved him. Like, so I came up for New Year's, and I remember I was trying to see him, and I saw him one time when I was up here for New Year's. I was up here for like, I think I came up for 10 days, so I was up here for a long amount of time. And I was staying with a friend, and we were staying in Brooklyn, and he lives in Brooklyn too, but we were staying in a different part of Brooklyn. So I come up for New Year's, and I see him that one time, you know, we link, whatever, hook up. And when I left, it was just like, you know, I left, he didn't ask me because I left really early in the morning from his place. He didn't ask me if I had made it home okay. You know, like, he got me a cab or whatever, but he didn't, it was just like, it was so like, ugh, like, he didn't ask me if I made it home. He didn't talk to me the next day. So I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, so I was trying to, at that point, I'm like, yo, like, let's talk about what's going on, because things have really switched up, like, you know. And I wasn't even on some like, I'm trying to be in a relationship with you, like, tell me why you want me in a relationship. It wasn't like that. I was just like, yo, tell me what's going on, as far, because he just kept on saying, I got a lot going on, I gotta focus, football, I got a lot going on, football, I gotta focus. And I'm just like, okay, cool, so let's have a sit down, tell me as far as like football and everything, just let me know like what's going on. I'm not saying, because he just kept on, every time I would ask him to like if we could meet up so we could talk, he would just, and this was during that 10 days, like after I seen him the first time, he just started dodging me. And he was doing a lot of training and stuff too, but you're also dodging me, you know. So I would ask him, I'd be like, yo, like, can we talk? And every time I would ask him if we could talk, his immediate response would be, I can't be in a relationship right now, football. And I'm just like, I just remember being so frustrated, because I'm like, nobody's saying shit about a relationship. I have not once brought up a relationship. You are assuming that is what I want to talk to you about, and that's not what I want to talk to you about. I want to talk to you about what is going on in your life right now, and as far as like, what is it that you have going on? Where are you trying to go with things? Not as in like it's like the way he was saying it was as in like, we're about to sit down, I'm gonna be begging you to make it official with me type shit. It wasn't that. I was just like, yo, like, let me know what's going on so that I can be on the same page as you, so that I can literally take what the information that you're telling me, because right now you're being very vague, you're not giving me shit, so I can take what you're telling me and I can proceed to go on about my way as I need to. I'm not gonna sit here, I'm not gonna beg anybody to be with me, so I'm not trying to sit down with you to beg you to be in a, I'm not about to force anybody into a relationship. That's not me. I'm not desperate. I know my worth. I know I'm not, you know, no ugly person, inside and out. I know that I bring a lot to the table. I'm not begging for no relationship, you know. But that's just how he kept on coming at me, was like I was trying to trap him into this conversation that would result in us being together, even though he was telling me he had a lot going on. But he wasn't telling me the details of what that meant. So I'm thinking, you know, it was just a lot. It was like, you know, it's like weird. I'm trying to make sure I say this right, but it's like, I wasn't trying to say let's be together, but I'm also like, just, I'm a very blunt person. I like communication. Tell me what the fuck is going on so that I can move accordingly. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. So we end up probably like maybe 2 days before I'm supposed to leave New York. I've had already like spent like maybe like 2 or 3 days like, yo, like, let's talk. Like, what the fuck is, like, why are you dodging me right now? Like, you being mad weird. So we finally come to an agreement that we are going to meet up, and I think we're gonna like meet up, maybe grab food or something. I can't remember. Maybe grab food, or maybe we're just gonna meet up and talk. I think we were just gonna meet up and talk or whatever. So we come up with this plan to meet up and talk and just, you know, lay everything out on the table. And the day of, so the day before we come up with this plan, we're like, you know, this is the time we're meeting, this is where we're meeting at, whatever. The day before, okay? So the next day I check in with him again, like I think like in the morning or something. I'm like, hey, you know, I'll see you later, blah, 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 whatever. Check in with him. The time comes around for me to come out there to where he's at. I go out there and I get all the way out there. I think I maybe had even told him like, hey, I'm leaving the crib right now, I'm about to head your way or whatever. I know I didn't just go. I was like, hey, I'm about to head your way. Get all the way out there and I'm calling him, I'm texting him, I'm like, yo, like, what's up? Like, what the fuck? Like, I'm out here, like, you not here. I'm in Brooklyn, New York. This man is in fucking Jersey. I'm in Flatbush. This man is in fucking Jersey training. And I knew he was actually training because he was, you know, he's posting videos and stuff, and he's like, I don't know, like doing that thing that they have where you like push it and you're like, it's like weights on it, but they like run it across, like back and forth across turf. Like, he was legit training. Him and his agent were out in Jersey. But I'm like, and that's not the problem, but the issue was, why would you not tell me that your agent has you out in Jersey right now and you let me come all the way out to Flatbush from a whole nother part of Brooklyn? I'm not from here. I don't live up here at the time. I'm by myself and you have me out here. It's a cold time of the year. It's daylight savings, so everything, it gets dark early shit. So I'm out here in the dark, by myself in this place that I'm not familiar with, walking around, literally walking around, crying my eyes out around Flatbush, New York, around like little neighborhoods and stuff, because I'm supposed to meet up with him out here, and this nigga tells me that he's fucking in Jersey training and didn't tell me that he was going to Jersey, and you let me come all the way out there, and you knew that we had plans. You knew that we had plans, and you let me go out there. So that's what I was pissed about. So I'm crying. I'm just like, why would you do this? Like, da da da. I'm just like so upset. And he's just like, you know, you just don't understand. Like, I'm trying to go to the league. Like, I'm trying to tell you what I'm trying to do, and you just not getting it. Like, basically making it seem like it was my fault. He was like, you know, you should have told me you was coming out here, or you was going out there. And I'm just like, you knew I was coming out here. We made fucking plans for me to go out there, to talk to you, to see you. That was the whole purpose of me coming to fucking Flatbush, New York. You knew. How many more times was I supposed to reiterate it? So I'm just like out there. I'm like, what the fuck? But he's like gaslighting the fuck out of me, making it seem like I was just like, I was doing too much. Like, I just showed up. So I am just bawling. I'm crying. I'm calling my friends on the phone, telling them what happened or whatever. I remember I like called my mom, and I'm just like, mommy, like, I think I'm gonna like end my trip early. I want to come home and whatever. I'm just like going through it. And yeah, he just wasn't in his head. It wasn't clicking where he was wrong, because in his head he just felt like I was wrong for not understanding everything that he had on his plate in terms of football. And in my head, I'm like, how would you not understand where I'm coming from? Like, you literally, we've been talking all these months, we hit it off, you've been hella distant lately, you just, like a light switch, you just flipped. And I'm just confused, and I'm trying to talk to you about it, and you're just not giving me any answers as to anything, and you're blowing me off. So I left New York very, very heartbroken, very sad. It was very disheartening. That's probably, honestly, I would say that time period was because after then, like after that instance, like we really fell off talking. He was just very much so, everything was football. Like, in the hindsight, like after all these years, because we had ended up getting back cool or whatever, but in hindsight, it really wasn't a female. It really was football. But that doesn't make how he went about it okay, you know? Like, it was fucked up. So that was one of my hardest heartbreaks to get over. It took me, and it's crazy because again, I was not in love. I had very strong feelings for him, but I wasn't in love. So I'm surprised it took me so long to get over him. And I've been in love before, and it didn't take me as long to get over them. But I think it's because the ending was so abrupt, and like I said, it was like a light switch, so I didn't have any time to prepare, I guess. Like, I didn't have any hints as to like, oh, like he just started acting funny or anything like that. It was just very like, I come, I see you, boom, you acting funny. Like, there was no like, it just, I don't know, at the time, my young self, I just couldn't fathom how I was going, like how this ended up this way. So I probably took like, I think it probably took me like a year and a half to get over him. It was a solid year. It was like a year and a half. And I just remember I was so miserable. I was out of school at this point, because this was during my year that I took off of school. And I was just so miserable. I was sad. I was heartbroken. I was just going through it, and I had a lot of other things. Like, 2015 was kicking my ass, so I had a lot of other things going on. Like, nothing was going right. So this like essentially situationship breakup on top of everything else I had going on was just destroying me. I was so like, that was the worst point of my life. It was so miserable. Everything just became very routine. I was working like 2 or 3 jobs, no car. I would walk an hour to the bus stop to get to work. I would be at work all day just thinking about this nigga that no longer is talking to me, and just so confused as to how we went from being so like this to just not talking. And then I think also a part of me felt like, I feel like the movie what is it, Atonement, or what's that movie with Taraji P. Henson? But anyway, I felt like that movie because it just felt like in my head, I'm like, yo, like I didn't have feelings for him because of the fact that he was potentially going to the league, because he didn't end up actually going to the NFL. He ended up playing for the AFL and some other professional leagues, but not the NFL. But I just remember thinking like, yo, like if this nigga gets drafted, I was the one who was there before any of this. Like, I was there before I even knew you played football. I was there before I even knew that anybody was looking at your ass. Like, I genuinely liked you for you. Like, I really, really loved you for you. Like, for your personality, for how you made me feel, for the time that we spent together, for the fact that I feel like I could tell this person things. Like, I just really... I didn't give a fuck about none of the football shit. But at the same time, it just felt like, yo, like, if this nigga really goes to the league and, you know, all these, you know, bitches about to be in his face and this and that third, because again, Mans was fine as fuck. So I'm like, all these bitches about to be in his face, and I was the one that was there before all them, and he's about to go fuck off and spend all this money on all these fucking bitches. And I felt so like a woman scorned type shit. I'm just like, yo, like, what if he meets some, like, you know, and this was before IG bitches was really a thing, but I'm just like, what if he meets some like IG bitch and he just, you know, gives her the life that I should have had type thing. Like, that's how I felt. Like, it wasn't even, I know saying that makes it seem like, oh, like you were after this nigga bread. I did not care about the bread. It was the fact that I was just anticipating him getting drafted and me being so hurt that I was genuinely like, had so much love for this person, and this person just dissed me, and then their life is on such a come up and my life is going to shit at the moment. You know, now it's, you know, a whole 180, but at the time it's like my life is going to shit. I'm so depressed. I'm not in school. I'm working these jobs or whatever. You know, this dude stopped talking to me because he's focused on football, and then I was gonna have to watch him get drafted and fuck off on mad bitches. And he's not the type, but, and I can honestly say that it's really surprising. He just don't be pressed on that type of shit. But in my head, I'm just like, yo, like, he's gonna be fucking off on mad bitches. Like, I don't, everything's gonna be so accessible. Like, you know, he's just like, somebody else is gonna get the lifestyle that belongs to me. That's just how I felt, you know. But yeah, so he ended up not going. He played professionally, but not for the NFL. And I don't, like, honestly, like, I'm one of those people where once I get over you, I can't really backtrack. So after I got over everything, and it took me, boy, that was a hard one. Honestly, I would say that's probably the hardest breakup I've ever had to get over outside of my most recent breakup. That was definitely the hardest one. But once I got over it, it was just no going back. Like, I just remember him, like, he circled back and he was like, you know, and this was like years later, like we were older, and he was just like, yo, like, this is what happened, this is where my headspace was. But by the time it came, it was still nice to have, and it still did help me out a lot. But it's like the roles reversed. Like, he had strong feelings for me. He was like, you know, you were the one that got away. You know, my teammates know this, my boys, like, everybody knows that you were the one that got away, and I always tell them about you. And I'm just like, you know, I shouldn't have. It's weird because it's like he admits that he shouldn't have went about things like he did, but he also don't be trying to admit that he was wrong in the way that he went about things. He still kind of like has this mindset that I should have been more understanding with what he was going through with football, and I shouldn't have like went out there and all this other stuff. But yeah, he was just like, you know, you're the one that got away, like, you know, I love you, that I'm always gonna love you, like, there's all this stuff. And I'm just like, by that time, I just didn't have feelings anymore, and I couldn't pull them back out, because it took me so much to get over him and heal from it and work those feelings out of me, that like I just could not find it in myself to pull those feelings back. They were obliterated. I just didn't have them anymore. And then I had also met my ex, my most recent ex, which is Danny, because again, this is like, you know, maybe like 6 years ago or so. And so I had already moved on. Like, I just really had moved on, and it was to a point where like there was just no getting me back. Like, he spent years, like literally years, like just he would check in on me periodically. He would tell me like, you know, it's always been you, it's always gonna be you, like. But I think my thing with that is I never, like, he would always tell me that, but I never got a sorry, because he never felt like he needed to say sorry. And then also, because it took him so long to come back around, yeah, so by then I had evolved so much that I just wasn't the same person anymore. I wasn't interested in the same things. I wasn't turned on by the same things. I was older, so I had just grown up a lot. So when I met him, it was at a time where I was very much so superficial. Like, I was into looks and that was it. And at that time I could get off with somebody off of just the fact that they were fine. But the older I got, I just was more like, if it didn't have the substance that I needed and stuff, I can't. Like, I just can't. Like, I can't get, if you can't stimulate my mind, I can't get turned on. I can't remain interested. I can't. So I think it was that, like, by the time it come around, it was just like I was just seeing certain little things that were turn-offs to me, and it was just stuff that I wasn't seeing at a younger age. Like, I was just so infatuated by this person I had met in a whole other state offline, and it was just like the nostalgia, I guess, of, you know, forming this relationship that was so like, or a situationship, honestly, that was just so, I don't know, I guess whatever I thought it was at the time. And yeah, I don't know, like, when we got older, like, by the time like he was like really trying to spend all those years like trying to get back in my good graces, I was just noticing stuff, like, just, you know, very like misogynistic comments that I didn't notice before, or just comments that were like, they would be insensitive, or they would be like dumb, or just like very like, it just showed the lack of I guess like cultural intelligence, or like emotional intelligence, or just like things like that. And I just was like really turned off. That's not to say this person is a bad person. You know, it's just, I was realizing that I wasn't attracted to this person anymore. So yeah, that was that. So we ended up, you know, we're still cool. We don't talk often, just because, again, I just realized that, like, when it comes to the mindsets, we're just in two very different categories. And I've never said that to him. I just more so just distanced myself, because it just doesn't click. It's not like, you know, there's no beef. It's not any like thing like that. It just doesn't click. So yeah, I just distanced myself. So yeah, you guys, that was my story. That was how I got left in Flatbush, and I was just walking around crying, looking crazy around New York. If y'all have something similar and you can relate, please give this video a thumbs up. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up so that more people can find me and my content. It would help me a ton, you guys. I really appreciate it. Turn on your post notifications so that you don't miss when I upload. And then also subscribe if you are not subscribed, you guys, because a lot of you guys will watch these videos and you don't be subscribed. Girl, it's free. Hit the subscribe button. It's right there, you guys. Like, it's literally right there. Just go ahead and hit it. So yeah, you guys, I hope you enjoyed this. I'll see y'all in my next one, and I'm out.